Hi, good evening. It's Wednesday night here, and about 8:30 in the evening. Raining down here in southern Florida, but the temperature's nice anyway. I continue to deal with people, and I do what I do to try to educate people. It's not about me. It's not about trying to get some type of anything for me, but all I want to do is get truth out there, and facts, and get people educated so that they realize that our government is perpetrating fraud on them and abusing their power and authority, and enslaving the people. Our Sheriff's Department has a Facebook page down here, like most do, in Marion County, Florida, and I've actually talked to the sheriff before, and I've written him asking him a few very direct constitutional questions, which he has ignored time and time and time again, which bothers me. Anytime an elected official, public servant, ignores a valid constitutional question, there's a problem. But the greater problem is, when I go to his timeline there or whatever, and I make it well known so that other people realize that this guy isn't all he's made out to be. I was called a wacko tonight, and I told this person, I said, you don't know me well enough to determine whether I'm a wacko or not. For one thing, what I am is a constitutionalist, and I've made that very clear that the Constitution, in Article 6 of the Constitution, declares that it is the supreme law of the land. It is the supreme law of the land, and every elected official is to be bound by the Constitution and to swear an oath to protect and defend the same. And so that if an elected official or officials violate the Constitution, they've actually broken the supreme law of the land, and any laws, ordinance, codes, statutes, regulations that are passed that violate constitutional rights are not legal. They're not legal, ladies and gentlemen. You don't have to follow them, because the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Supreme, meaning there's nothing else above it. There's nothing that can supersede it. States are given states' rights because we are a republic, but the state can give more freedom than the Constitution affords, but what they cannot do is infringe on the freedoms and the rights found within the Constitution. States are not allowed to do that. The 10th Amendment, gives control to the states and ultimately to the people, if you read the 10th Amendment. And my point in all of this is people don't get it. And I guess what I have to do is somehow try to bring this down to a level that where it would affect you personally. One of my questions I used to ask people is, what rights are you willing to give up? And here's the problem with this. If you're willing to give up even one right, you've given all of them up. Because once you give up one, it's a snowball or a domino effect, and you will lose the rest. And to you people out there that are anti Second Amendment, the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. And that word infringed means, you're not allowed to hamper or put any type of restraint on guns or any type of arm. It's not just guns. It's any type of armament. The term that the framers used is arms. And they had cannons, and they had, you need to read the Federalist Papers, and especially Federalist Paper number 46. And it really goes into great detail about the armament that the militias had and the whole purpose of it. It's to keep the government at bay. The whole purpose of the Constitution is so that the people have the power to overthrow the government if the government becomes out of control. That is the entire purpose of the Constitution. And that's why it's so important that we remain vigilant in our fight and effort to bring this out of control government under control. And in fact, the only way we do that is the second paragraph of the Declaration of Independence. It is time to abolish this government and institute a new one. Our documents are fine. We just need to put people in places of leadership who are willing to follow those documents 100%. 100%. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like with the people that are coming up that there's even very few people out there that would be willing to do that. I just posted tonight, man, if I was ever to get into county council, one of the first things I would do is to get rid of the gold fringe flag and put an actual American flag up there. And the second thing I would do is to begin to restore the county back to a constitutional republic. And I would do that by telling people that whatever the Constitution says, it is the law of the land. You want to open carry? You open carry. The state doesn't need to pass anything to authorize open carry. The Constitution, the supreme law of the land, has already done that for us. It's already there. Unfortunately, we live in a time where people are afraid of the government. And when the people are afraid of the government, there is tyranny. When the government is afraid of the people, there is freedom. Guys, I'm shooting this from the heart, and I'm trying to get people to understand that the government is not your friend. The government wants to steal and kill and destroy everything you have. They want to take. They don't care about you as much as they try to talk about protecting you and all this. It's not the government's job to protect you. It is your job, your responsibility to protect yourself. That's why you bear arms. It is your job to provide for your family. That's why you work a job. And the government, for crying out loud, uses coercion and extortion to take thousands of dollars away from you. You don't pay taxes. Taxes are taken out of your check. They are stealing your money. They're stealing your money. For 126 years, this country lived and survived and thrived without taxing people's income or property. Property tax is another tax that is unconstitutional because we have the right to own property. If you're paying tax, you don't own it. Anyway, I hope that this kind of helps people understand. Let me just say this one real quick. You know, when it comes to rights, what right are you willing to give up? Maybe you're willing to give up your right of freedom of speech. Are you willing to give that right up? That you can only say what the government says you're allowed to say, when you're allowed to say it, where you're allowed to say it, and how you're allowed to say it. I mean, how many people are for that? How about the right of due process, Fourth Amendment? You know, the Fourth Amendment keeps the government at bay from just busting down your door without due process, which requires a warrant, and a warrant that has to be signed by a judge based on more than just we think or we feel. There has to be some real credible evidence in order for a warrant to be issued to have your property searched. See, maybe you're willing to give up your Eighth Amendment right, which is cruel and unusual punishment. How many of you people out there are willing to give up your Eighth Amendment right and allow the government to institute cruel and unusual punishment upon your person? And at that point, then you can appeal that to some court and let the court decide whether you've been unduly treated. You see how this works, guys? I'm hoping this gets out to people and people understand. We have to stand up to this government, and it is a fearful thing to do, but if we don't do it, and we don't do it now, things are not going to get better. I'll tell you that right now. Things will not get better. All right, well, I hope everyone has a good night. Be safe out there, and God help America.